The Temple of Heaven, the most representative imperial structure in Beijing, was used by emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties to offer sacrifices to heaven and pray for bountiful harvests. Looking north from its vertical access and just next to its huge walls, you can see both traditional and modern buildings. This is Jinyuchi community. There are over 3,100 households in this community, including original residents who have lived here for generations, older residents who moved here in the 1970s and 80s, and many new residents. No matter when they moved here or where they are from, Jinyuchi is like a large family built on tolerance, peace, and joy. This is a winter morning, an ordinary day at Jinyuchi community. During the day in Chinese communities, you see very few people except for elderly residents and preschool children. But you should not underestimate these elderly people. They are not just spending their time in leisure. They have many things to do.
今天啊，大家看着我端着盘水果乐了。这盘水果啊，今天在咱们科普学校是有讲头的。为什么说呢？这盘水果咱们人吃完了以后，剩下的皮核还有吃它的。
This is Sung Chengfang, 55 years old. Sung is a social worker for Jinyuchi community and principal of the community's science popularization school. Today, she has invited an environmental protection volunteer to the community to introduce the use of earthworms for kitchen garbage disposal.
3个方面的一个特征吧，它的生活条件和这个蚯蚓的家，这个蚯蚓屋，然后它所爱吃的东西和它不爱吃的东西。好，首先这个生活条件呢，有个温度量的。
Today, all Chinese city communities use a garbage classification system. Like other big cities, daily solid waste in Beijing, mainly from kitchens, accounts for 3/4 of all solid waste. This is an environmental protection recycling program to make kitchen waste food for earthworms, and again use the waste generated by earthworms as organic fertilizer for family gardens. A trial of this program is being carried out in some communities in Beijing.
最好就切成小一块儿，
小点，
这样的它的这个吃的速度就快一些。
谁能把这个蚯蚓放回家？
When residents come to understand the great environmental protection value of the tiny earthworms, they vie to take them home and give the program a try. Sung Chengfang has been a social worker at Jinyuchi for 9 years. Though the salary is not high, she loves the job very much.
哎，刘老师，下班了，锁门了。你刚回来呀？
啊，刚回来。
哎，再见啊。
哎，再见。
Sung's mother has lived in Jinyuchi for decades since she was first married. She may be the oldest resident in Jinyuchi.
妈，我回来了。你们才回来？哎，吃什么呀？吃饺子。吃饺子。我觉得小家伙跟您特有缘。
Sung Chengfang was born and brought up in Jinyuchi, and now she works in Jinyuchi community too. Her sisters and brothers have gotten married and found jobs and have moved out, but she has remained here. Now she can take care of her mother as well as work in the community. She regards herself as the daughter of Jinyuchi community. This is Xiao Niuzi. Xiao Niuzi means little girl, a daughter of Jinyuchi too. However, she was born at an unlucky time, different from today. Xiao Niuzi has a sad story. Several hundred years ago, Jinyuchi was where the Imperial family bred goldfish. That is how Jinyuchi, which means goldfish pond, got its name. The people who bred the goldfish at that time were the earliest residents here. In the early 20th century, due to long chaos from war and social turbulence, the ponds for breeding goldfish turned into cesspools, and Jinyuchi became a slum for manual laborers and craftsmen. In 1951, Lao She, a famous Chinese author, wrote Long Xu Gou, drawing its material from Jinyuchi. This play was about life in this neighborhood in the late 1940s and the changes that came afterwards. Later, it was made into a film. Both in the film and Lao She's play, Xiao Niuzi is a strong character. She lived in a dirty, old, and shabby Jinyuchi. A small goldfish bowl brought great joy to her bitter childhood. But on a night of wind and rain, the life of Xiao Niuzi, as fresh as a flower, was mercilessly taken by the cesspool. After 1949, the Beijing municipal government was determined to change the situation in Jinyuchi community and has undertaken large-scale renovation at 3 different times. The cesspools have been filled and new buildings have been built. The narrow and dirty streets and lanes of the past have been turned into a beautiful garden community. But the residents of Jinyuchi have never forgotten Xiao Niuzi. They raised funds to have a bronze statue of Xiao Niuzi made. During the community's cultural festival in 2004, Jinyuchi residents warmly received Xiao Niuzi, the daughter of Jinyuchi, back to her new home. The fishbowl, the goldfish, the blue water, and the garden are the good days Xiao Niuzi dreamed of when she was just 9 years old. The good days dreamed of by Xiao Niuzi have been recorded by an observant and conscientious person of the community. These albums belong to Han Jiaxun, who moved to Jinyuchi in 1981. Compared with Xiao Niuzi, he belongs to the younger generation. By 1981, the government had finished the second renovation of Jinyuchi. Most single-story homes have been pulled down, and red brick buildings of 3 or 4 stories, called simply constructed buildings at the time, had been built. When he found that one such building nearby was to be demolished, Han Jiaxun went there with his camera to take a final picture to remember the old building. At that time, Han's family lived in a room of 18 square meters in another of the simply constructed buildings, and 4 families shared a public kitchen and public bathroom. But Han was satisfied at that time. Housing in those days was allocated by one's employer, the work unit. Young people could only apply for housing after getting married. Although the house was not of very good quality, the rent was fairly cheap. The year 2001 witnessed Jinyuchi's 3rd renovation. This was the most thorough renovation Jinyuchi has ever had. The new Jinyuchi community is a representative of the perfect combination of traditional Beijing architecture and modern architecture. Its buildings are well proportioned, of different heights, and have a series of semi-enclosed courtyards, maintaining the style of old terraced houses. Han Jiaxun's house has quadrupled, expanding from 18 to 70 square meters. It was bought with money paid by the government to his family for the demolition of the old building, plus many years of savings of all family members. The property rights belong to Han himself. The torch relay for the 2008 Beijing Olympics passed through Jinyuchi community. The residents recommended Han Jiaxun as a torchbearer. Han has given new wonderful memories to Jinyuchi community again. This is Jinyuchi's last group of old houses. The residents here will soon move out. Xue Boqiao, in charge of social benefits and social security affairs in Jinyuchi community, is very familiar with the quality of life of the residents. She comes here to see what she can do to help these residents before they move out. Young Fan Guiyuan has been worried recently. His parents are both out of work due to their health and have had to go on relief. He has just found a job, but it is not well paid, and now their house will be demolished. Although he has received compensation money from the government, his family has no savings and cannot afford a new house. Just at this moment, Xue Boqiao and her colleague come to Fan's home. Xue is sure that related government policies will apply in Fan's case, but she needs time to get this information together. She will find assistance for Fan's family as soon as possible. From related governing departments, Xue learns that the government can provide subsidies to families with financial difficulties, sufficient to rent modest housing. That means Fan's family can obtain a subsidy of 1,200 yuan per month for the rental of a home. Xue's responsible and quick response effectively solved this problem for Fan's family.
这个不是有签名，父母签名吗？如果他们签了签，如果他们签不了的话呢，你就代替他们签了。
Now, Fan Guiyuan and his parents have rented a house in a community near the Temple of Heaven and lead a peaceful life. Although he has left Jinyuchi, he often thinks about Aunt Xue. Sometimes he comes back to Jinyuchi community to see Aunt Xue and Xiao Niuzi. This is a town meeting in Jinyuchi community. The residents are all enthusiastic elderly residents of the community. Today's topic has to do with Xiao Niuzi.
我们社区呢，就是研究呢，就是在咱们社区呢，想成立一个爱心基金会。所以呢，咱们今天呢，咱们召开这个会议。
The person talking is Song Lijun, director of Jinyuchi community. She called the meeting to discuss the creation of an aid foundation, an idea from community resident Madam Xiao. Several days ago, Madam Xiao came to the community office and told them her story. Several months ago, her husband had a sudden cerebral hemorrhage, which resulted in hemiplegia. She herself has breast cancer and has been taking medicine for years. Since their children work in other cities, they have to support each other and have faced many economic difficulties. The community administration has the responsibility to help them with their difficulties. So Song Lijun is thinking of setting up a foundation, but she has to call a town meeting first to discuss this matter.
我的想法呢，就是呢，咱们社区的每一个居民呢，自愿的每人每月呢捐1块钱，放在这个基金，用于帮助咱们社区呢，就是一些困难的群体。
那阵儿小妞子，她跟谁去借钱呀？有了困难，这个就在那种生活环境下，那么困难，周围邻居都困难，借不出钱来。现在呢，咱们作为这儿的居民能捐出钱来，你说这个对比有多么大？
If Xiao Niuzi were alive, she would be the same age as these elderly residents of the community. No wonder they always mention Xiao Niuzi in their discussion. From here, we can see Xiao Niuzi's memory is deeply etched in the residents' minds and has become a symbol of Jinyuchi.
这个基金会嘛，是吧？我觉得体现了咱们中华民族的一种美德，互相帮助，互相关怀。这种帮助，我想不会太多，但是在精神上给他一个很大的鼓舞。
It is common practice in many communities in China to have town meetings to discuss community matters. To set up an aid foundation is something big for Jinyuchi community. Some residents have expressed concerns.
那一个是钱的问题，一是我们救助的对象的问题。这个对象是在什么情况下我们去救助，是吧？
你们做细，把这个小组的工作要做细，确实是困难，用在这困难上头，这就行了。
The town meeting lasted the whole morning, but participants have not fully expressed their views. Finally, they unanimously agreed to name the Community Aid Foundation the Xiao Niuzi Foundation, and each resident will donate at least 1 yuan per month voluntarily.
咱们今天实到是37人，全部通过。
After the meeting, the participants make their first donation. The meeting has also elected an administration committee for the fund. Song Lijun has drawn up regulations for the administration and use of the funds, which will be open to all residents for further suggestions and comments. This afternoon, Song Lijun and her colleague come to Madame Xiao's home and give them the first donation from the Xiao Niuzi Foundation. Although it is not a great sum of money, the loving care of the residents has enabled these two old people to have confidence and hope for their future life.
Our class content today is introduce yourself.
Besides the Xiao Niuzi Foundation, Jinyuchi holds an English class once a week.
I live in Beijing. Beijing is very beautiful city, so I very like it.
Yeah. 我是M from 天坛 community， 18本district， 基池社区，goldfish lake housing community。我今年72岁，我已经退休了，退休了就是 I'm retired， 我已经退休了，70多岁还不退休啊？我还来参加英语，我又回到年轻的时候了。
These elderly women have found friendship in the community and have a good time studying.
Follow me. I return to my youth age.
I return to my youth age.
My name is 赵青子.
I live in the Jinyuchi community. Welcome to Jinyuchi.
The Spring Festival is drawing near. It is the most important festival for Chinese people, so all the homes in Jinyuchi community are busy preparing for it. Jinyuchi community is full of warmth, peace, and joy, with a strong streak of humanity, reminiscent of old Beijing, as well as a new vitality of the times.